Donald Trump, Elon Musk, and Russia have just pulled off one of the biggest upsets in American history. They've convinced half of America that billionaires know what's best for the working class and now have all the tools at their disposal to make Reaganomics on steroids. So why did this happen? And more importantly, what does that mean for the future? I want to talk about this because though I am disappointed, worried, scared, a part of me is weirdly optimistic. A part of me is happy that this happened. Not because I know that we're probably going to go into a new world of borderline and maybe even full-blown fascism. I do, however, think that there are some people who need to be faced with the consequences of their actions in order to learn why their vote was not what they thought it was. And it sucks because I don't want to see people get hurt, but now that Trump is in office, that's inevitably going to happen. I especially feel bad for the uneducated people in rural areas because though I acknowledge that there are a lot of bigots who voted for bigotry, I think that there are more people who actually thought that Donald Trump was just going to solve the problems in their life. That local bar you love to go to will probably close down. Education is going to go back to the states, and red states won't have to worry about LGBTQ ideology and curriculum now. Now they're gonna have to worry about if their kids have pens and paper, maybe even a teacher at all. I hope that this loss and the changes to come finally make the Democratic Party change for good. I am sick and tired of these moderates cosplaying as progressives being shoved down my fucking throat. I am sick of them talking about being the party for change and inclusivity and all of these things, and yet they still refuse to stand on and fight for progressive policy. Now, I'm not saying that I'm not for negotiation. I absolutely believe that people with different mindsets should come together and come to some type of compromise. But when there is research to show that people like things like raising the minimum wage, government-funded healthcare, free lunch for public schools, abortions when the mother's life is in danger, hell, even common sense gun laws. And America loves guns. But instead of doing the right thing, the Democrats continue to show that they only serve the same institutions that they criticize. There are so many gems within the Democratic Party, and yet they still keep trying to put these LARPers on the ticket, because that's what they are. They aren't actually here to help anything. They're LARPing. So many people talk about how right America is getting. I don't actually believe that America is getting right. I think that the Democrats are just not leaning into progressive policy. I think that most people just want to be able to go to work, come home, take care of their kids, and just live an easy life. And Donald Trump provided them with solutions to get there. Now, whether or not those solutions will actually work out, well, history shows they might not happen. Alright, rant over. Now I want to talk about why Kamala lost. Because, surprise, surprise, it's not because she's a biracial woman. Well, maybe a little bit, but that's not the only reason. The first thing I want to touch on is the economy, which stats show this was probably the most important issue to everyone out there who was voting. Kamala did not do enough to distance herself from Biden. Common theme here. Her and Biden kept boasting about how this is the best economy we've ever had and that inflation is at a good rate and all of these things. But there are so many Americans out there right now who are suffering, living paycheck to paycheck. For you to listen to them tell you about their worries and their concerns, and for you to be like, no, things are actually good, it shows you are not listening to your constituents. I just wish that they had more messaging about cracking down on price gouging instead of saying that, well, things are good, so we're just going to keep them the same. I know she said it a couple of times, but you lose that image when you start talking about inflation and the economy and stuff. No, lean into what the problem is and how you're going to fix it. That's all you have to do. And also, why are you up there talking about small businesses and how you want to help them? I love small businesses. I think that they're what runs America. But when people are telling you that they are struggling to put food on the table, they are not thinking about how they are going to start their next startup. And though I know that Trump's policies are not good and they're going to actually make people's lives worse, these people in these rural areas do not know that. All they know is that Donald Trump came to them and presented them with actual solutions to their problem. Next, I want to say this isn't necessarily her fault, but building a campaign in 3 to 4 months versus someone who has been building a campaign since really 2016, I think she would have done better if she had more time. Though I think that she could have done a lot better, and she started to around the time of the election, I think that if there was more time for her to build herself as her own candidate, maybe things would be different. But I don't know. But in saying that, I feel like she could have done a lot better with the time that she had. Why is it that when the stats show that Democrats typically side with the Palestinians, she wants to go on stage and say, "I stand with Israel's right to defend itself," and then go campaigning with Liz Cheney? God, there's so many little things that I could pick apart about her campaign, but I think that this goes to show she did a culmination of just not doing or being for the things that people want, and all of that just snowballed into either people just not voting for her or sitting out this election. She always tried to say the right thing to make everyone happy. You're not gonna make everyone happy. There are people who absolutely love Trump, think he's the greatest thing walking on earth. And there are people who fucking hate Trump. And it's so frustrating for me to sit there and watch her in these interviews try to tiptoe around not offending anyone and really, in my opinion, not standing on what she believes in. I'm against drilling. Actually, drill baby drill. Actually, I support Israel's right to defend itself. Wait, no, actually, I'm pro-Palestine. Did you know that I grew up middle class and my nanny was a small business owner? Did you know that? People understand that in politics, you have to negotiate. They're not stupid. So why not just go up in front of everyone and say, this is what I want to make happen and this is how I'm going to do it? Going off on that, why was she so adamant on talking about how she was just not Trump, she's not a felon, she's not a rapist, she's not a racist, she's not all of these things? Whether people realize it or not, people are tired of the whole "I'm not Trump" campaign. We live in a world where either you think Trump is a shitty person or you don't. But these election results show that people care more about dealing with their everyday problems rather than stopping evil. Whether that is okay or not, doesn't matter. What matters is America has spoken. Kamala tried so hard to appeal to these moderate Republicans, and ultimately that was her downfall. If it's so important to appear as this centrist who can be on both sides, why did Obama win in a landslide? I wish that the Democratic Party stood for something, rather than being satisfied with complacency. Alright, so what do we do now? Donald Trump is president, the Republicans are probably going to have all 3 chambers of Congress. What do we do now? First of all, this is a time that we all need to come together and support one another. And when I say support one another, I don't mean to further your echo chambers to hate on people who didn't vote, with this minority who voted wrong, this person who voted third party, or whomever, because being angry distracts you from being prepared for the next few years. Do you know whose fault it is? It's the Democrats' fault. It's their fault for not putting up a candidate that makes people excited to go out and vote for. Everyone in this country, whether I agree with them or disagree with them, they're entitled to vote for who they want to vote for. And so it is not up to us to blame each other or to convince other people to vote. No matter what we do, no matter what campaigns we run, no matter what we do on social media, it is ultimately on the Democratic Party to put up a good, progressive, charismatic candidate. You may not realize this, but you have way more in common with the Jill Stein voter than you will ever have with Kamala Harris, Joe Biden, or any of them. I'll be even bold to say you have more in common with a Trump voter than you will ever have in common with them. I don't know if you have a lot in common with a diehard Trump supporter though, because those people wore trash bags just because Biden called them garbage. This is a time for us to come together, because at the end of the day, no matter who you voted for, we are all going to be suffering the consequences of what's going to happen. And so I challenge you to set your political feelings aside and to really come together and support one another. Because 1, I think that is going to help us get through this, and 2, I hope that it really creates change within the left and the Democratic Party to truly be the party of inclusivity that they say that they are. Now, that's more of the present, but I'm always the person who, whether for my own good or not, thinks way far into the future. It sucks right now, and you deserve to be sad, frustrated, angry. All of those feelings are valid, but we cannot stay down for too long. I am not the type of person to go down without a fight. One thing that I think that a lot of people are overlooking is the midterms. The Democrats have the opportunity to take Congress back in the midterms. Now, I don't know what these next 2 years are gonna look like. An unrestricted Trump presidency, that scares me. But I'll be bold and say this. If Trump can ruin this country beyond repair in 2 years, then the United States deserves to perish. The Senate and the House are very close. Close enough for if Democrats can put up the right candidates, they can flip the House and the Senate back. Getting Congress back could either reverse or at the least stall any type of irreparable damage that Donald Trump could do in the last 2 years of his presidency. I was looking into some of the numbers, and some of these Senate seats were won by very close margins. And I know people are worried that the country is shifting right and all of these things, but one, typically within the 2-year election cycle, things swing back the other way, whether it's from Democrat to Republican or Republican to Democrat. But also, I again go back to what I said earlier of if the Democrats put up a young, charismatic, progressive candidate, I would be very surprised that people would not actually go out and vote, especially if Trump's policies are as bad as I think they're going to be. Look at some of these margins. With the right candidate, the Democrats can at least get the Senate back to 50-50. As far as the House, the Republicans are estimated to have about 222 seats by the end of all this. If the Democrats can't switch 5 or more seats, I don't know what to say. And whoever is going to run for these seats needs to be designated ASAP. If the Democrats don't have candidates in place by mid to late 2025, they're throwing at this point. Reach out to your local election officials. Reach out to your local campaign managers. Reach out to your local government officials. Find out ways that you can help create what I think could be a blue wave in 2026. So go do what you have to do. Cry, go to therapy, do whatever you need to do to get through this tough time. But know that there is still hope. I know that's easy to say, but hope is all we've got right now. So, yeah.